The shuttle tore through Earth's upper atmosphere like a needle slipping in a fabric, seamless and silent. Cloaked in phase-shift camouflage, the Imperial recon craft slipped undetected above the Pacific, descending into a remote California forest. The mission was simple: observe, collect genetic samples, and return. What none of them considered was that humans, despite their galactic obscurity, had guardians unlike anything the Empire had encountered. Nayland Vire, a minor noble of the Telari house, reclined in his gravity seat aboard the cruiser. He twirled a holographic display between two fingers board. His assignment to Earth was punishment, thinly disguised as reconnaissance. He considered the species crude but quaint. Their music intrigued him, their martial rituals laughable but oddly elegant. Then he saw her, curled on a picnic blanket near a trailhead, coloring in silence while her father adjusted gear nearby. A child, small, unremarkable by imperial standards, but exotic in her genetic density. She looked up and smiled at the sky. Nayland didn't think. He ordered an extraction, a quick beam pull from orbit. One sample, one specimen, for his report. It would be returned. But the girl did not scream. She looked at him with silent confusion, and that unnerved him more than anything. At ground level, Jack Trace felt something go wrong before he heard it. Years of SEAL operations, some off the books, some so classified they barely existed, had tuned his instincts into something not quite human. The breeze shifted. The bird stopped. Static cracked in his earpiece just once. Then gone. When he turned, the blanket was empty. The crayon scattered. The sky overhead pulsed with a shimmer. His daughter, Lyra, was gone. He didn't scream. Didn't run. He closed his eyes, took a breath, and pulled the sat phone from his kit. A direct call. No code words. No permissions. No asking. "This is Trace," he said. They took her. A half-second pause. Then, confirm. 0-hour protocols. Confirmed. The line went dead. Somewhere, deep in the Sierra Nevada range, servers reactivated protocols written years ago for threats never publicly acknowledged. Somewhere else, satellites realigned. A stealth hangar door, hidden beneath a lake, slid open. Jack was already moving. The president was informed 20 minutes later. The Pentagon was 30 behind him. The National Security Council met in an underground chamber and debated for 4 hours. They concluded it was either a hoax, a psychotic episode, or an unknown actor testing Earth's response times. They didn't understand. Jack Trace wasn't just a SEAL. He was a contingency. By the time officials reached the hangar, the Phantom-class interceptor was gone, pulled from deep storage and flown manually into low orbit. Jack had modified the heat shielding with the help of a few old CIA contacts. He bypassed NORAD's detection windows. He had done this before, though the last time, the world had nearly caught fire. He replayed the satellite burst data, one flicker of gravitational distortion, then awake. Directional telemetry suggested an outbound trajectory far past lunar orbit. The trail was faint, but he had enough. The onboard AI flickered on. "Jack, this mission is not sanctioned. It's not a mission. It's a message." To whom? To whoever thought Earth was a petting zoo. Aboard the Imperial cruiser, Nayland Vire lounged in the observation chamber. The child had not spoken once. She sat quietly, examining her surroundings, noting guards, exits, and the blinking panels on the walls. He offered her sweets, which she refused. He called her a curious little creature. She stared through him. He didn't know she'd been trained by her father since she could walk. That Jack had shown her how to escape zip ties by age 5. That she could identify most firearms by silhouette. She was her father's daughter. When the Empire's ambassador received Earth's diplomatic query, flagged urgent, child abduction from sovereign nation, he laughed. He assumed it was some internal misunderstanding. Humans didn't even have warp capability. How could they threaten a civilization that spanned 3 arms of the galaxy? The message was ignored. 12 hours later, an Imperial outpost near the Kutari Rift reported a phantom incursion. Internal footage showed a figure, human, moving through the corridors with surgical precision. Guards were neutralized non-lethally. A comms terminal was hacked. Jack didn't say a word. He left behind only coordinates. A breadcrumb. Another outpost fell the next day. This time, the commander wasn't spared. Footage showed him attempting to fire before Jack disabled him in 2 moves and took his retina for access clearance. The girl's location was narrowed down. By the 3rd hit, a whispered phrase began circulating through Imperial subnets. Ghost of Earth. Aboard the cruiser, Nayland finally received a tight beam warning. Do not harm the child. Return her. A human is coming. He dismissed it. Then his guards disappeared. One by one. No alarms. No bodies. In the dim light of the ship's command deck, Jack emerged from the shadows, rifle raised but finger off the trigger. Nayland tried to speak. Jack silenced him with a look. Lyra ran to her father without a sound. She clung to his chest, small hands locking around his vest. Jack held her for a beat longer than needed. Then he turned to Nayland. You took my child, he said, and you thought there wouldn't be a reckoning. Nayland stammered. I didn't know. That's the problem. You think because we haven't flown ships into your stars, we're nothing. You see Earth is backwards. It was a mistake. Jack tilted his head. No, it was a choice. And choices have weight. Behind him, the ship's lights flickered. Systems crashed. Jack had uploaded a virus, a gift from Earth's cyber warfare division, made to devour Imperial code like acid. This ship won't fly again, he said. Tell your empire. Next time, I don't stop at you. He left him there, panicked, powerless. As the shuttle pulled away, Lyra looked up at him. Are they going to follow us? No, Jack said. They're just realizing what they started. And aboard a War Council station light years away, an Imperial admiral watched the footage, face pale. You idiot, he whispered. You stole a Navy SEAL's child. He looked around the chamber of nobles, each one suddenly understanding the weight of their mistake. Now we all die. Jack Trace had seen war on a scale few could understand. Desert firefights, submerged sabotage missions, night raids in forgotten jungles. Each etched into muscle memory, each stored away like files in a locked drawer. But none of it prepared him for the vastness of the Empire's territory. The stars here weren't just dots in the dark. They were cities, cultures, throne worlds bound together by arrogance and ancient treaties. And somewhere inside that expanse was a list. His name was now on it. He moved silently through the corridors of a stolen interceptor, its hull scorched and patched from a dozen skirmishes. The ship was sleek, alien in design, but he'd learned its language through necessity. The controls pulsed faintly under his hands, organic tech reacting to bioelectric impulses. Human fingers weren't supposed to work them. Jack made them obey anyway. His daughter slept in the crew chamber, wrapped in his old jacket. She had stopped asking questions once she realized he didn't have answers she'd want to hear. He told her only the truth. They were going home. Eventually, but not yet. The Empire wouldn't stop at a warning. They hadn't listened to Earth's diplomats, nor to the quiet threat Jack had left burning into the command deck of the cruiser. They didn't fear humanity, not yet, and that meant others would try again. Jack needed to make sure they never would. A new ping lit up the console, tracking signal, faint but steady. The coordinates were Imperial, a mid-tier outpost world called Varnak. Military control, heavy surveillance, the kind of place you didn't break into unless you were insane or dead inside. Jack was both, in the right proportions. He left Lyra in orbit under AI lockdown. She protested only once. He reminded her gently, "You're safer up here than with me down there." She looked away. She understood. Varnak's surface was a blend of brutalist architecture and swirling violet storms. Towering spires jutted from the crust like knives, each brimming with anti-air defenses and sensor arrays. The Empire was terrified of rebellion. It built everything like a prison. Jack descended under cover of a lightning surge, using the chaos of the storm to mask his approach. He landed in the dead zone between patrol routes. His boots hit the ground with a silent thud. He moved like fog, present ungraspable. The jungle training came back in seconds. Camouflage paint, breath control, heartbeat modulation. He approached the outer compound where records were stored. Logs, movement reports, personnel tags. He didn't want files on himself. He wanted evidence of patterns. Who was pulling strings behind the abduction? Who allowed a noble to cross planetary boundaries unchallenged? Inside, the guards were lean, well-trained, and poorly led. They expected rebels, smugglers, maybe even syndicate agents. They didn't expect a human ghost to materialize between motion sensors and surveillance drones. One by one, Jack neutralized them with restraint, sleeper holds, nerve strikes, quick chokes. No blood, no screams. In the central archive node, he ripped open a control panel and hardwired a local uplink. His interface device, a gift from a retired NSA operative, bypassed the system's AI barrier in 20 seconds. The Empire thought in scale. Jack thought in flaws. The name that appeared on the screen didn't surprise him. Admiral Viros Tellen, architect of subjugation protocols, known for pushing boundaries and unofficial tests on pre-space civilizations. He had visited Earth twice, years ago, on quiet diplomatic surveys. He'd labeled humanity as resilient but unprepared. That wasn't just an assessment. It was a threat in waiting. As Jack downloaded the evidence, a low chirp echoed behind him. He froze. Hands where I can see them. The voice was firm, precise, and alien. He turned slowly. A tall, violet-skinned figure stepped from the shadows, rifle leveled. She wore intelligence officer insignia, but her posture was wrong. Too cautious, too deliberate. "You're him," she said. "The human. Trace." Jack didn't deny it. "You've caused unrest. You kidnapped my kid," he said. "I didn't. Your empire did." She lowered the rifle. "That's why I'm here." Jack's grip tightened on his sidearm, but he didn't draw. "I'm not loyal to Tellen," she continued. "He's a butcher. Half the empire wants him gone, but lacks the courage to try. And you do." "I want to live," she said simply. "And I want the empire to live, which means not starting a war with your kind." Jack studied her face. Her eyes didn't flicker. Her hands didn't tremble. She was telling the truth. "What's your name?" he asked. "Kelta Vesh. Intelligence defector. I've been tracking your path for 3 systems." "Why?" "Because I knew it would end here. Because you're not just looking for revenge. You're trying to understand why they took her." He said nothing. Kelta stepped forward. "Let me help you. Tellen's not done. Your daughter was a prototype. He's planning more abductions. He believes humans have latent genetic traits linked to survival anomalies. He sees you as a mutation worth harvesting." Jack's voice was low. "He's wrong." "No," she said. "He's right. But that doesn't give him the right to treat your people like livestock." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of something sharp, something unspoken. "Why help me?" Jack asked. "Because if we don't stop him, he won't just provoke Earth. He'll provoke everything. And the Empire will fall from inside." Jack nodded once. "Then we start with him." They left the archive room together. Kelta rerouted patrols using a stolen command token. Jack moved like a shadow behind her, trusting her only as far as he had to. As they reached the extraction zone, A burst transmission cut through their comms. Imperial-wide. Emergency directive. Tellen had just declared the human a Level 1 galactic threat. Uncontained. Elimination authorized. Open bounty. Kilta stared at the message. That's insane. They're treating you like a war. Jack just looked up at the storm-racked sky. I'm a war, he said. When they reached orbit, the ship's AI confirmed multiple pings across the outer sectors. Mercenaries. Navy battalions. Private hunters. The hunt had begun. Kilta turned to him. We can't go loud. Not yet. No, Jack said. But we can get close. To Tellen. To his black sites. I need proof of what he's building. And then we take it to every system he thinks he owns. Kilta glanced at the child asleep on the bunk. She's going to grow up knowing you tore down an empire. Jack didn't smile. She's going to grow up safe. The stars outside shifted as the ship banked into hyperspace, its trail already being tracked by hunters who had no idea what waited on the other end. Kilta stood by the viewport, watching the tunnel of hyperspace ripple like a living ribbon. In her years as an intelligence operative, she'd crossed dozens of sectors, infiltrated revolutionary cells, survived wars of silence where one wrong word meant vaporization. None of that prepared her for Jack Trace, the way he thought, how he moved, how he treated every moment like it might be the last. It wasn't discipline, it was calculation. The man was a blade honed by the grind of necessity. In the main cabin, Jack sat at the tactical console, one knee bouncing with silent rhythm. He scrolled through intercepted logs from the Varnak archives, highlighting planetary coordinates and troop requisitions. The map forming before him wasn't just imperial. It was a web of deception, facilities buried on worlds labeled as agricultural or diplomatic, all tied back to Admiral Viros Tellen. What's on Virilia? He asked without turning. Kilta pulled up a secondary feed. Officially, a genetic health spa. Off-world elites go there for anti-aging treatments. Unofficially, she hesitated. A cloning facility. Off-record, Tellen's personal project. Jack tapped the panel. That's our next stop. Too obvious. They'll expect you. Then they'll be ready. Kilta looked over her shoulder. You sure you're not suicidal? Jack didn't look up. I just want my message received. Lyra's soft footsteps interrupted the tension. She stood barefoot, hair tousled from sleep, holding a datapad Jack had given her. She'd been studying alien languages since they left Earth orbit. Not because he told her to, but because she wanted to understand the world that tried to take her. Dad, she said quietly. Who's the man you're going after? Jack paused. He's someone who thinks people are tools. Like a bad teacher? Worse, Kilta said gently. He breaks things to see what's inside. Lyra's eyes narrowed. She didn't ask more. She didn't have to. They dropped out of hyperspace near a gas giant cloaked in electromagnetic storms. Virilia's moon, just visible through the clouds, shimmered with atmospheric shielding. No obvious docking ports. No traffic. Just an artificial world pretending to be natural. Stealth approach. Kilta asked. Jack stood, sliding a holster across his chest. No, we going hot. We want eyes on us. Kilta blinked. You said subtlety was the goal. It was, Jack said, until they put a price on my daughter's head. She didn't argue after that. The drop shuttle screamed through the upper clouds, pulse engines pushing the limits of inertial dampening. Alarms blared across the moon's defense systems. Automated cannons rotated, locked, and fired, but Jack's ship rotated just enough to ride the kinetic wake and punch through a blind spot. Heat shields peeled. Hull plating groaned. Then silence. They landed hard, too hard but upright. Jack kicked the ramp open before the hydraulics finished hissing. Smoke billowed. Stormlight flickered against wet metal. The compound was a dome, half submerged in rock and plasma vents. Slick, alive, throbbing with hidden machinery. A guard unit approached. Jack fired once, a sound-suppressed bolt to the lead's weapon hand. The others froze. Kelta spoke in rapid imperial code. Command override. Red protocol. Genetic contamination. Emergency quarantine. It worked for now. They entered the facility with forged credentials and a hacking tool Kelta had only used once before, on a senator's yacht, during a failed coup. It cut through retinal locks like warm blades through synth silk. Inside, the air smelled sterile, but beneath it lingered something wrong. Ozone and rot, antiseptic over fear. Chambers lined the walls. Each held clones in different developmental stages. Adolescents frozen in stasis, their features eerily human. Some bore subtle genetic markers. Heightened bone density, enhanced nerve cluster growth, ocular adaptions. All based on Earth genetics. This is what he's doing, Jack whispered. This is why they took her. Kelta nodded grimly. Talon's been running these programs for over a decade. Your daughter was never random. He targeted you. Jack's knuckles whitened. He turned to one stasis pod, where a clone floated mid-development. It had her eyes. Too small. Not yet alive, but close enough to freeze his blood. Shut down protocol, he asked. Dangerous, she warned. Could trigger automated failsafes. He placed a small device on the console. That's the point. The compound sirens began 2 minutes later. Explosions rocked the outer chambers as they exited. Remote charges set to fracture the cloning arrays without destabilizing the moon's core. They sprinted through collapsing corridors, air filled with synthetic screams and klaxons. Jack carried a data vault under one arm. Records, logs, proof. As they reached the surface, a dark shape descended from the clouds. A destroyer-class ship, sleek and black as obsidian. No insignia, no broadcasts, just silent presence. Tell Len, Kelta breathed. A voice echoed from the sky, projected directly into their minds. Neural override, invasive and cold. Jack Trace, you made your point. Leave the girl and your proof. You may walk free. Jack drew his sidearm. You're not getting near her again. Then you will die. And so will she. The sky lit up with energy fire. Jack pushed Kelta down as the impact wave hit. The clone dome behind them erupted in a pillar of molten glass and steam. The shuttle, hidden in a ridge cleft, powered up as if it sensed its pilot in danger. Its weapons array opened automatically, scanning for threats. Kelta grabbed Jack's arm. We can't fight a destroyer. Don't have to, he said, eyes locked on the beacon he'd planted during the descent. The beacon pulsed. Far above, in a classified quadrant of soul space, a dormant satellite awakened. It recognized the signature code. Trace 9, Earth's contingency. Not for alien invasion. Not for diplomacy. For vengeance. The satellite relayed the burst signal through a relay chain so old the current governments didn't remember existed. Deep underground, a vault opened. Inside, a cruiser marked with no flag. Human-built. Non-governmental. Weapons experimental. Piloted by ghosts. It launched. Talon's destroyer barely had time to register the incoming object before it was struck by 3 rods of kinetic uranium fired from near-luminal speeds. The hull split in 2. Fire rippled through its arteries. No escape pods launched. Jack watched it burn. Kelta stared in silence. That wasn't Imperial. Jack said nothing. The cruiser didn't respond to hails. It turned once, slow and deliberate, then vanished into deep space, as if it had only one purpose: response. Back aboard their ship, Lyra met them with wide eyes. Did you stop them? Jack crouched, pulled her into his arms. Not all of them, but we're safe. For now. Kelta took the helm. Jack opened the data vault, scrolling through the files again. Tellin was gone, but his work was archived. Others would try to resurrect it. As they entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into light again, and Lyra leaned against her father's side. Jack didn't sleep. He was already charting the next target. The stars blurred as the ship glided through hyperspace, but Jack Trace barely noticed. He stood in the dim glow of the navigation chamber, watching the data vault project rotating models of black sites, encrypted communications, and a network of names, all traced back to the same route. Tellin had been a node, not the source. A spearhead, not the hand that threw it. And now that he was dead, something colder and more calculated was beginning to move. Kelta entered quietly, datapad in hand. Transmission from the Rimward Enclave. One of my old contacts decoded part of Tellin's deep archive. There's a council behind the genetic programs. They call themselves the Ascendant Chain. Jack didn't flinch. How many? 7 active members. 2 already repositioning assets. 1 disappeared just after Tellin died. Jack turned to her. Let me guess. The one who disappeared ran the human operations. Kelta nodded. Name's Lauren Vash. Originally Naval Science Directorate. Moved into rogue bioengineering 12 cycles ago. She's the one who ordered the initial human acquisitions. Earth was just a pilot. A cold silence followed. Jack folded his arms. We track her. No negotiations. No warnings. Kelta raised an eyebrow. Even if she's protected by high command? Especially then. Lyra watched them from the corridor, quiet and unreadable. She didn't interrupt. Not anymore. She understood too much now. The next jump took them to the edge of a dying star system, where solar winds stripped everything bare. Kelta's contact had flagged an unmarked station orbiting a shattered moon, silent, shielded, and pulsing with faint neural energy. A black site in every sense. No broadcasts. No response to hails. Perfectly imperial. They dropped in from high orbit, hiding behind solar radiation until the last possible second. Kelta piloted while Jack prepped the infiltration rig. New weapons, old tactics. His face was a mask of purpose. Nothing wasted. No hesitation. Lyra stayed behind, sealed in a safe chamber with 3 redundant AI routines watching her. It still felt like a gamble. Docking was rough. Forced entry through an old maintenance ring. Jack led the breach with Kelta behind him, cloaked and scanning. The station's interior was colder than expected, temperature regulated for data storage, not life. Lights flickered faintly, reacting to their presence with sluggish pulses. They moved room by room, cutting past old surveillance nodes and dormant drones. The place hadn't been used recently, but it wasn't abandoned. Something about the silence felt purposeful, like a predator holding its breath. In the central chamber, they found the truth. Thousands of data canisters lined the walls, each one tagged with Earth dates, blood types, and neural markers. Human genetic archives collected, sorted, cataloged. Not for analysis. For reproduction. Clones, Kelta whispered. No, templates. Jack pulled one of the canisters. His jaw clenched as he read the label. TRC, LY-Ray, 07. His daughter's genome. Not one copy. Dozens. Slightly altered. Tweaked. Explored. He turned slowly, placing the canister down with deliberate care. This was never about a single child. They wanted versions of her. A whole line. Kelta looked visibly shaken. She's not the only one. There are at least 200 Earth-based designations here. Soldiers. Scientists. Athletes. They've been running Earth's data through predictive augmentation models, creating synthetic improved humans before we even reach the stars. Jack's voice was steel. They were building a new species. A low hum rose from the floor. The station wasn't dead. It had been waiting. From the shadows emerged automated sentries, bipedal, sleek, and fast. Their rifles lit with charged plasma. Jack reacted instantly, rolling behind cover and firing precise bursts. Kelta dropped low, disabling two with EMP grenades. The firefight was surgical, brutal, controlled. By the time the last drone hit the deck, smoke curled in the rafters and Jack's shoulder was bleeding through scorched fabric. Kelta helped him to his feet. He waved her off. "We take the data," he said. "Every file, every name." "And then what?" she asked, breathless. Jack stared at the racks of humanity's stolen potential. "We burn it." They loaded the cores into collapsible storage cases. Jack programmed the station's reactor to overload. No virus, no time message, just destruction. Sometimes the only message worth sending was absence. As they raced back to the ship, the station trembled beneath them. Lights dimmed. Heat rose. The moment they detached and cleared orbit, a ripple of energy burst outward, consuming the black site in a violet halo of fire and implosion. Back aboard, Lyra met them with wide eyes. Was she there? Jack shook his head. Only what she left behind. Kelta leaned against the console. Lauren Vash wasn't there, but we traced one of her encryption keys. She's headed for Turnix Prime. Jack inhaled slowly. That's where we finish this. The journey to Turnix Prime was tense. The world was a fortress, not by military design, but by wealth. A megastructure orbiting a fertile world. Home to the most powerful in the Empire. No weapons allowed. No direct threats. Everything operated through diplomacy, leverage, or assassination. Kelta disguised them as cultural diplomats. Jack wore a formal suit stitched from polymer and synth fiber, his movements constrained and unfamiliar. His weapon was hidden in his sleeve, coded to nerve impulse. Lyra stayed on the ship this time, silent but defiant. She wanted to be part of it. Jack couldn't risk it. They found Lauren Vash in a sky garden, surrounded by bioengineered birds and a waterfall that never stopped flowing. She was older than her profile suggested, pale, silver-haired, eyes like quartz. She wore imperial regalia, but not rank. Influence, not power. She smiled when she saw them. "You made quite the entrance at Virelia." Jack didn't sit. "You took something from me," he said evenly. She tilted her head. "A child?" "No. I took data. Possibility. That's what she was. That's what all of you are. Humanity's trauma has become evolution. We studied it. Honored it. You dissected it," Kelta snapped. "I preserved it," Vash replied calmly. "You burn what you fear. I archive what I admire." Jack's weapon dropped into his palm. "I should kill you." "Perhaps," she said. "But then what? Your story ends as vengeance. No warning. No reckoning. The next me will just work deeper, darker." Jack stepped closer. "This isn't for me." He tossed the device at her feet. It projected the black site files into the sky. Names, experiments, bloodlines, corruption. Every guest on Turnix Prime could now see it. The Empire's elite froze. Murmurs rose like static. Laura Vash's smile faded. "You leaked it." "To everyone," Jack said. "You've destabilized." "I've informed," he interrupted. "They'll turn on each other now. No one trusts a council that farms people." Vash reached for a concealed transmitter. Jack shot it from her hand. She flinched. Not from pain. From shock. "Go," Jack said. "Live in the ruins of your legacy." As they departed, chaos erupted behind them. Not flames. Not death. Just fear of truth, exposure, revolution. The kind of fear that could rot empires. Back on the ship, Lyra hugged her father without speaking. Kelta leaned against the bulkhead, exhaling slowly. "You didn't kill her." "I did worse," Jack said. "I made her obsolete." Kelta nodded. "What now?" Jack glanced at the stars. "We go home."